Welcome to episode 11 of Going Places. I'm Beth Bartel, and I am here today with my friend Adam, and he is going to talk about a place that's really near and dear to both of our hearts.
Hi Beth, yes, I'm Adam Pascale from the Seismology Research Centre in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm a seismologist, but I'm going to be talking about I'll be talking about volcanoes, not earthquakes. It's not my area of specialty, but as Beth said, this place does really hold a special place in my heart from my experience there. So so let's have a look. So I'm going to show you some photos of when I was there. So this is Taal Volcano in the Philippines. So this is the Taal Volcano Observatory where I installed some seismic monitoring equipment. So they do earthquake and volcano monitoring at this observatory. And while I was there, actually, so this photo shows you the actual observatory itself and that giant tree next to it. And one of the great things about going places in reality rather than virtually is you do get to interact with the locals. And there were a couple of kids playing around outside under that big tree, and I didn't speak Tagalog, they didn't speak English, but they sort of were encouraging me to come over and try these little pods that were falling off the tree. They were cracking these pods open, and they were inside them. There was this like a jam that they were licking off the seeds inside. So, and they were saying, you should really try it. And I grabbed one and opened it up, and it was really lovely. I didn't realize that that's how tamarind grows. So that's a giant tamarind tree that's at the observatory there. So that was really great. So that was a lovely experience I had at the observatory itself. But why we were there was to actually install some seismic monitoring equipment. So here is my friend Wayne working together to install some drum recorders that basically show the volcanic tremor as it's happening. So that's those instruments there. We upgraded the national network of the Philippines from analog to digital, but they still wanted the analog as well. So that's where we put some new stuff in there as well. So there's me doing some wiring testing in where the sensors were living outside. And then from the observatory, you could see the island in the middle of the lake, which was the island is the volcano. Now, most people, when they look at it, they see that cone on the right there, and they think that that's the volcano itself, but it's actually not. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly over to that. So if we look at this video here, so down at the bottom there, that's where the Taal Volcanic Observatory is. And as you can see across the way, there's that small cone, but that's not actually the volcano itself. The volcano is the main island, and it is quite a short volcano, but it's certainly not a small volcano. So it was reported a lot as being a small volcano, but no, it's not. And within the crater, there's this big crater lake, and I was lucky enough to actually get a chance to go over there. So we caught a boat across, and we walked up this part here to the rim of the crater. And so my next photo is me standing up near the main crater, but looking back towards that cone. So I'm standing there on a survey point, and the next photo there shows...
Adam, what year were you there?
That was 2003.
So I just have to interject because it's quite possible that I helped install that very survey marker that you were standing on.
Oh, there you go.
Connections, people. We didn't meet until like 2 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fortuitous that I was standing on it. I mean, we were just taking photos, but there you go. How coincidental. And then not far from there was the actual edge of the main crater. So it was a lookout point you could look up. And so as you can see, within that crater, there's the lake inside it. And that's what was erupting. So if we now go back to that video and continue on, you see there's the water inside the the crater. And so if we now go to a view above, you can see that that's the volcano, the main volcano, but that's not the biggest part of the volcano. If we zoom out, that lake that it's sitting in is actually a giant crater lake from a giant volcano that last erupted, I think, 140,000 years ago. And that's very close to Manila. So you can imagine if that actually activated again, how big it would be. So, so that's, and when it was erupting last time, here's a video that somebody that was in the Philippines sent to me. This is a time lapse of the phreatic explosions or eruptions. So what that means is that the heat from the volcano is actually evaporating all of that water that was in the lake inside the volcano. So and that's, so now there's no water left inside that volcano lake that we were looking over earlier. So that's my experience at Taal Volcano. It was good fun and really enjoyed my experience there.
Thank you so much, Adam. Now, so just going back to something you said at the beginning, you talked about switching over the network, the national network, right, from analog to digital, and you showed some of those drum recorders, so people might think back and remember those drums, and a lot of us think of, you know, the wiggles on the drums made by pen, and so that's what you talk about by analog, right, is we have a sensor that's writing on paper, and digital means we don't even need the paper, we can write straight to a file, it's all bits and bytes, and we can send that via radio link or whatever to places around the world. So it's really a way to see those data all over the world and get them in a format that we can analyze directly.
Yeah. So every station in the Philippines was manned, and the people that were living there were basically changing the paper on the old drums. That was their job, and to make sure that they were continued to be occupied, we upgraded, and so we put digital instruments in there, and they would stream that feed up to the analog drums, and they would read out. It's analog drums are really good in volcano observatories to see volcanic tremor, so see the noise level increase, because you've got a continuous visual, whereas digital recorders are sort of storing files away on the computer and you're not looking at it as well. So that's why they were still a valuable tool back then. So yeah, we upgraded the entire network starting about 20 years ago in 2000. And Taal was one of the last ones to be installed, and that's one of the ones that I was involved with.
That's fantastic. And one other note on the eruption in January is that Taal is it's a known volcano. That volcano island is known to be active. We saw that part on it that looked like it would be the volcano, and really that whole area is the volcano. And there are a bunch of different craters, and people may have noticed as you zoomed out on the island that it's just pockmarked with craters all over, and eruptions can happen from any of those places or a new place in that area even. And then I also just wanted to comment that there are people living on that island. So when I was there, and I'm guessing when you were there as well, even though there's this known threat, there's still some pretty compelling reasons to live in a place like that, because it's very good for farming, and you know, people might not have other good options and such. So during that eruption, even if it looked like it was a place that nobody inhabited, you know, there were cattle there when I was there, in taro fields, again, probably when you were there too. So a lot of people during that eruption were living on the island and were displaced, and some may still be displaced. So it is both a very interesting place and a very complicated place to live, and to understand. We need to understand the hazards so we can, you know, better mitigate any of the problems that come with them.
Yes, I did come across some people. There was a bit of tourism there as well, with helping people get up the volcano. There were people offering donkey rides up there. I was probably bigger than the donkey, so I felt bad and didn't. I walked myself. I didn't go take a donkey. But yeah, they had to evacuate all those people. So it was a big thing, because it hadn't erupted for, I think, 40 years or so. So it was a little bit.
1977. Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's my story of Taal.
That's great. All right, everybody, go do some more research on Taal, because it is a fascinating place, a really interesting volcano. And thank you so much, Adam, for joining us today. See you next time.
See ya.